So your Amazon business is growing like crazy, but you do not have the funds available to buy inventory. So what do you do? Do you go out of stock and miss on the potential sales, or do you get additional external funding? In this video, I will tell you how to get funding and the different options available for Amazon sellers. Subscribe to the channel to get new tips every week. All right, so today we are going to be talking about funding. So how to finance your Amazon business for rapid growth. And personally, I have had a bit of like mixed feelings regarding external funding. And for quite some time, I was more thinking that, we don't need to get any funding. We will just reinvest everything back to the business and basically let the business pay for itself. And of course, it's a less riskier way how to handle your business. Basically from day one, we started just like bootstrapping. So, and I remember that we didn't take a single penny out of the business for the first 1 year, 1.5 years. So for 18 months, we didn't take any salaries or anything. So we were basically just reinvesting everything. So bootstrapping means that, you're building it up with like minimum outside investment. So that's how we were basically doing it, just putting 100% back into the business and let the business finance itself. But in retrospective, in first years, I would say, that was actually a very, very risky thing to do. Why would you do that if you have options? Because first of all, I'm always saying that you should do profit first system. And in the beginning, in the first years, we weren't even aware about the system and we didn't know how to do that kind of stuff. But basically the point would be that, okay, let's say that you bootstrap for 2 years and you don't pay yourself a single penny. Let's say something happens after those 2 years and your business goes down. Then what did you gain from your business? Nothing if you didn't pay yourself and just it kind of disappears. So that's why it's really important to do this like profit first system and pay yourself first, because if something happens, then you've at least get paid yourself all the time. And secondly, it will definitely give this like good motivation and momentum and really a reason for you to get up every bed and work on your business, because the business should basically pay for all your expenses. So I've gone pretty much like 180 degrees on this, because when we started, this was pretty much my mindset that we don't need any funds. We'll just bootstrap. We will not even pay ourselves. But like today, I think completely different. And that's a good question. Like, why get funding? Typically, is in this kind of business model, when you deal with inventory, typically you need to pay for the inventory first. And especially during the last quarter of the year, it means that you probably need to do like significant investments in terms of inventory. So it's often a question that, okay, are you going to have opportunity cost? Are you going to miss out on sales, or are you going to get like additional funding to pay that inventory in order to grow faster? So maximizing the last quarter, maximizing October, November, December, that's definitely a good reason why to get funding if the business is not able to pay those inventory costs. And has anyone looked at what the interest rates today are? Today, money is cheaper than ever. It's great. It's just incredible how you can get cheap loans and what is the cost of external finance. Of course, it depends. Like, where do you get the funds, and that's basically what we are going to be discussing here. But I mean, as everything, I mean, getting external funding, it does come with risks. So that's always something to consider. And the availability of choices really depends on your location. And what I mean with this is it's basically the location of your legal entity. So it's not really just where you live. Of course, that makes an impact as well, but it depends. I mean, it has a big impact whether your business is in Europe, US, Asia, or whatever. For example, I mean, we have several businesses in Estonia, and funny thing is that, I mean, we have never been able to get like even business credit card from an Estonian bank. It was a really funny situation. Like, I remember that we had like somewhere up to like 1 million euros in the bank account in Estonian bank. And we applied for like a credit card, and their offer was to us that, hey guys, so if you pay us 2,000 euros, then we will give you a credit card with 1,000 credit. Wow, that's so generous. So it's completely different, like whether you are having your business in Estonia, Finland, US, or Hong Kong, and so on. So the available choices pretty much depend on your location. So, and key thing is like, because I mean, currently many of the interest rates are negative. So how to really leverage that? And I mean, take a look at this, like Federal Reserve in the US said that, I mean, this is already a year ago, and they said that, I mean, they will keep the rates unchanged at least until 23, so 2 years. And this was a year ago, and it still doesn't look any change. So, I mean, interest rates are not going to change this year or next year. And we're going to discuss here like several different options or where to get funding. But I would say always that, okay, first option is local. So that means that, well, this is a picture of HSBC. It's a terrible bank, but point is that whatever is your local country, local area, then you should definitely ask like your local bank first. And it really depends, like, okay, do you want to get a business loan, or are you willing to take like personal loans? Because I mean, with personal loans, I mean, those you always have to pay back because it's a personal guarantee no matter what happens to the business. But I would say so that if you really want to get the cheapest loan, then I mean, then you could consider these like personal loans as well. For example, like just think about the mortgage rates. Let's take Finland, for example. So I recently bought like a house in Finland, and I don't live in Finland. So in Finland, I mean, the Finnish banks consider me as a like high risk person, because let's say if I didn't pay the loan, then it would be really kind of difficult for them to get me to get the funds from me, apart from like just selling the house. But anyway, so I bought a house and took a mortgage from Finland. And for me, like a high risk person living outside of Finland, I mean, the mortgage rate was like 0.6%. So that's that's practically free money. But of course, if you take like personal loan, then I mean, you will always need to pay back no matter what happens to the business. But anyway, it would be a possibility that I would use those mortgage funds to basically loan to my business, and then mark it as a loan that the business owes me those funds. So but I mean, that's if you really want to get the cheapest and you want to go to these like 0 point something rates. Because let's take a look at this loan comparison here. And this at least definitely gives us some kind of rates to consider. For example, I mean, the bank loans typically starting, I mean, the rates can be 5 to 10%, different loans 7 to 25, 7 to 25. And the cheapest option here on this kind of list is cash advance. But still, I mean, you're not going to be basically going under 1%. But anyway, so let's look at some options that are only focused on Amazon sellers. So, I mean, Amazon does have its own lending service called Amazon Lending, but it does require that you basically, you need to have the seller central set up with an US entity, meaning that LLC, then Amazon is going to be giving you loan based on your sales. And so it is basically by invite only, meaning that you need to have a certain history in your seller central account in order to apply for the loan, for the funding. And it's pretty much dependent on what kind of sales, what kind of track history you have inside of Amazon. And let's say that you had non-US legal entity. I mean, you're not eligible for this Amazon lending. And let's say that you would want to become eligible for Amazon lending, then it really requires that you need to change the legal entity to US LLC. But even after you do that, you will not necessarily see it immediately available to you. So, I mean, I know that people sellers can get really good rates from this, but I know I know sellers who have changed their legal entity. Like there were 2 cases and they had pretty similar sales history pretty much. And the one immediately, after they changed the legal entity, got this option to apply for Amazon lending, but the other seller didn't didn't become eligible. So it's kind of funny how it works. But just keep in mind that even if you change your legal entity inside of Seller Central, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will get this option. And this is actually an interesting thing. So Amazon has partnered up with Lendistry, and they have built some kind of community lending program. So it's some kind of pilot program and a partnership as well. But same thing here, it's only available for US entities. But yeah, let's take a look at those different kind of capital advances. So Payoneer does have this capital advance thing. So it basically means that you don't need these credit scores, US credit score and all that stuff. It's just basically for you US only. But I mean, what it means is that they are also going to be looking at your store performance, and then you're going to be receiving offers for up to 140% of your monthly marketplace payouts. So that's pretty much how much you can get out of this capital advance, and it's up to 750,000. And it has its ups and downs. I mean, good thing is that this is basically available in Europe, UK as well. I mean, it basically says there that e-commerce sellers with Amazon, US dollars, pounds, euros, Canadian dollars, and Mexican. So it works in such a way that Payoneer purchases part of your future account receivables equivalent to this capital advance amount, plus they take a fixed fee, the settlement amount. And when they accept this application, then basically these funds will become available instantly. And we can see here that there's different kinds of options, like 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. So basically, it is this kind of tiered program. So once you accept and settle these offers, then you will be getting like, you will become eligible for these higher levels of capital advance, which means that then you have the ability to make longer settlement this period. But yeah, that's pretty much up to 750K. And then there's quite a few of these funding partners for Amazon sellers. And one is this sellers funding, and it basically works. I mean, it can go up to 5 million, and it's pretty straightforward process. Like I did a one such application, and they pretty much gave this proposal. Then it's just up to you to approve it or not. And typically, I mean, you can connect your Seller Central account and then get this proposal. But I think this AccrueMe, this is actually pretty more interesting choice. So this is like exclusively for Amazon sellers. And the interesting thing about AccrueMe is that basically they don't take any fees or interest. What they take is portion of the profit, which means that half of the half. So technically they take like 25%. So here you can see that here's the seller's profit and then AccrueMe profit. So basically there was no payments made to AccrueMe for over 18 months. So this actually gives a good amount of time in order to really use the funds to grow the business so that you don't immediately need to start paying back the loan that you took. And this is probably a scenario that everyone who takes funding fears. So we can see here that immediately the profit went down after taking this funding from AccrueMe. But as you can see here, if the seller is not making any profit, then AccrueMe is not making any profit either. So it really depends on the seller's profitability. So this is actually interesting example here, because on the left we can see that, okay, let's say that we have a business and the capital is like 100K. So 100% capital, you own 100% of the profit, and the return investment, let's say it's like 20% if the profit margin is 20%, so it's 20K. So if you work with AccrueMe, and then they will give you the same amount of capital that you already have in the business. So this means that, okay, if you take 100K from AccrueMe, then the capital you have is like 200K, then capital percent is 50%, and AccrueMe takes like half of half, so 25%. So the seller's profit is 75%. So the return investment is the same, but in terms of amount, it is higher. So that's basically how AccrueMe works. So they give funding from 10K up to $1 million. So the way it is that it matches the seller's own capital. So what this means is how much the seller has. So in terms like inventory and receivables from Amazon. So like if you have 20K in inventory and 5K receivables from Amazon, then they will give you 25K. So they will not give you more than you have. They will just double whatever you have. So yeah, it's an option how to double your capital, and there are no required monthly payments, because as we see, like the one example went that, the first example was that they didn't make any payments for 18 months. And so there is it's basically only, and the other case was that, the seller was taking out funds, but still did not pay AccrueMe. So, that's a pretty good system. So it means that there's no interest or no fee, but the way they make money is that they basically do this like temporary share of profits with no loss of ownership. So I mean, Accrumi will not get any ownership of the company or equity or anything like this. It just means that once you pay yourself profit, then you need to pay Accrumi as well. So only pay them if you earn a profit. So, and then it's basically up to you to decide when to pay them back. Like if you want to pay them earlier, then that's basically fine with them. But let's see what are the requirements with Accrumi. So first of all, I mean, you need to be profitable, and you need to be have been making like profitable sales for a minimum of 6 months. So if you start today, if you get your first sales today, and then I mean you are not eligible, so you need to have a like history of 6 months of profitable sales. Then you need to be selling on Amazon.com, so in the US market. And you need to have this LLC, so US legal entity. But it can also mean that I mean, let's say that you have a company in Finland, so it can be just that, okay, you set up a new LLC in US and your Finnish company owns and operates this LLC. So that's basically already like, that's matches the eligibility of Accrumi. So I mean, bottom line is that there's many options for funding. I mean, best one really depends on your situation. Like, do you want to take any kind of like personal risk, or do you want to take it like 100% on the business? So I mean, it's your business, your choice. Basically, if you're willing to take more risk, then I mean, you're going to be getting more lower interest rates as well. But that's why, I mean, this Accrumi is pretty interesting, because it only works on the profit. And I mean, this is, in my opinion, a really important rule that, I mean, best time to ask for a loan is when you don't need it. Which means that, I mean, that's why, for example, I have been asking loans from different like parties. Like I asked like one loan from this sellers funding, but I mean, I never took it, but I at least have the application there, and if I need it, then I can take it. All right, cool. So who has taken funding, external funding? If you like this video, then hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like me to help you on your journey, then book a call with me and let's talk.